It goes 12 minutes, 9 minutes, 6 minutes, 14 minutes.
Okay.
So I usually flow through because it's just a good flow. But if she wants to come in, let's say we do after the first 12 minutes, have her come in.
Oh, she's fine.
She's good? Okay. Okay, cool. All right.
No, we'll.
Good day and welcome to the Think React Lead radio show. I'm your host, Dom Fawcett, executive coach and leadership speaker with Think React Lead, here with you on Intelligent Talk 960, The Patriot, KKNT. All right, folks, it's been a week since we last communed, but we've had a lot of craziness go on. But you know what I thought about the other day? And I'm hearing all these people talk about how crazy it is, and these times are, I think the word people use is, this is unprecedented. You know what? Every generation has their thing. I remember growing up in the Reagan era and hearing my dad in the military talk about the Russians and all the other things. Like every generation or every decade, there's a thing. But I also noticed that when you just stay dialed in and focus in what it is your purpose to do, guess what? None of those things get in the way of your growth. They don't get in the way of your development. And then, like, at the end of the day, forget about all the mindset, motivation stuff. You stay happy. Like, I don't watch the news. I sat the other day and watched 20 minutes of anime with my son. We'll never do that again because I grew up on it in Japan watching anime. I didn't, like, the look of the show has not changed from when I was 3 up until now. I'm 42. But anyways, we spent some time together. Now, I did something yesterday, and it totally aligns with the guests that I have in studio today. Let me share with you what I did. Yesterday, we went out, my wife and I, and her father went out and looked at some land. And I saw the price of the land. I'm like, oh, this is cheap. This is some land. We can get the land. And then her dad goes into explaining that, yes, the reason this land is not as expensive as you may have thought it would be is simply because the amount of boulders that have to be removed, like that's where the makeup of that cost comes into play. I'm like, removing boulders? Pray tell, what is it you mean? He said, you can't build a foundation when you have all this rock and all this, like, he said, this is considered a hard dig. I'm like, ugh. And then he started telling me how much it would cost and all of the things that go along with that. And obviously I had to go back to the drawing board. I was like, man, this is, okay, this is going to be an endeavor, and it's going to take a little bit more than I thought. But guess what, folks? When you plan to lay a foundation for anything that you do, guess what? It's going to take a whole lot more money and time and effort and energy than you thought. Now, these two individuals that I have, they're in the real estate space. But before I read off their wonderful bio, if I'm not mistaken, one of these guests, we shared a stage once or twice. Somehow, some way we connected. But we sat down for lunch a while back, and I was talking, and I asked him questions about real estate because he's a subject matter expert in the space. And by the time we were finished talking, I realized I didn't want to do real estate. So I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to do it now, right? But in studio today, we've got Chris Ontiveros and Brian Ponciano, founders of Recession Proof Investments, LLC. And they have over 30 years of combined experience investing in real estate. RPI was created with the purpose of generating passive income for the average American. Folks, that's you, that's me. They believe in making the process as simple and as transparent as possible. You shouldn't have to be a Wall Street expert to create monthly cash flow. They highly believe that rental real estate is the most secure and reliable investment in America. Fellas,
yes, sir.
Thank you very, very, very much. Brian, I'm going to start with you, if you don't mind. You know, we're going to jump into the real estate space. We've got some time here. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about laying the foundation, right? Yes. It could be metaphorically, and I mentioned the rocks. Mm-hmm. Did you hit hurdles? I know you did, but you're successful. How did you get through all the rocks? How did you end up here today in the real estate space that you're in?
A good friend of mine, and I'm sure you know Mr. Greg Reed, he taught me a long time ago that the easiest way to walk through a minefield is to follow the footsteps of somebody that has successfully done it. And real estate, investing as a general is a minefield, especially real estate investing, because a lot of people see, hey, there's a lot of money to be made, so I'm just going to go do it. And honestly, a lot of people end up making a mistake that you almost made had you not had your father-in-law there to say, hey, here's the reason why, because they're like, oh my God, this is a steal. Let me go jump on it. So the best way that I got through and the way that I went is what I always teach my students is just network. But network with a purpose. So I would network with people that were doing what I was doing, and then I would find out how they were doing it. I would find out what worked for them. I would find out what didn't work for them. I would get connected with their friends. I would get connected with their contractors. I would get connected with their title people. And literally, I just copied my way to success. But the biggest thing that I noticed was that a lot of these people had already made the mistakes. And one of the things that I say all the time is I'm a pretty smart person because I learn from my mistakes, but I am a genius because I learn from other people's mistakes.
I like that. I like that. He's a genius because he learned from other people's mistakes. Folks, let me explain something to you. You don't have to do it on your own. And I get it. You're probably smart, but there's somebody who has done it prior to you showing up on scene. Chris Ontiveros.
Yes, sir.
Sir, can you just shoot us a little bit of your background?
15 years in real estate. Been a real estate agent for 15 years. Got into the investing space about 10 years ago. But, I was at a point in my life where I really didn't want to know what I wanted to do. I didn't even know about entrepreneurship until I read a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, which completely changed my whole paradigm. I didn't even know those types of things were even possible. And so it did lead me to the real estate space. And that's where we are today, where we're providing cash flow for ourselves and a lot of our clients.
Now, we're going to jump into the actual cash flow space of it because that's what people want to know. But you guys are the first duo to be on the show. Partnerships. How long have you guys been working together? Anybody can answer. And what advice do you have for those individuals out there that want to partnership?
We've been working together officially for 3 to 4 years, I think is when we started Recession Proof. However, we've been working together beforehand. The best thing that you can do when you're creating a partnership is you got to find somebody that's not like you, but has similar goals. And most people mess up because they try to find somebody who's like, hey, you like to work out, I like to work out, let's go work out together. Yeah, that sounds good in that space. But when you're coming to the business, that's not the way it goes. So if you got two individuals that are highly focused and not really attentive to detail, then you're going to get a bunch of really good stuff on this side, but you're going to get a bunch of really bad stuff on that side. So eventually, I met him through networking.
Okay.
And I met him at an event. We became connected on social media, on Facebook. He had a ticket for Robin Thompson, was a lady who was showing real estate stuff out in Florida. He's like, hey, my wife can't make it. If anybody wants to take the ticket, just let me know. You just got to pay for your own way and your own hotel.
Done.
So I said, yeah, I'll do it. I went. We connected very well from there. And then after that, I lined up my first flip. He had already done a few flips by that point.
Okay.
So I called him pretty much every single day. Hey, man, here's what's going, how to do this. The contractor's telling me this, the city's telling me that, whatever. Eventually, because he was a licensed realtor and he helped me out, I said, you know what, here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to pay you back and I'm going to give you all my listings.
Oh, wow.
So moving forward, you get all my listings. And I was by far your easiest client. He never heard from me. But as we started working together, I started realizing that he's really good at things that I'm not good at, and I'm really good at the things that he's not good at.
Right. I like that. And what side of the fence are you on? And I'm talking to Brian, but Chris, the side that you're on that he's not that great at, like opposites attract. So what is the side that you bring?
So yeah, my side is more of the, I'm more evaluating, I'm more in the business. I think a lot of people downplay partnerships, a lot of people talk bad about partnerships, how they don't work. I think that's because a lot of entrepreneurs are too into being number one.
Oh, yes.
Right? They don't want to be the number two. So in the last 5 years, I've broken my businesses and I've brought on partners on both.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have a real estate development company here in Phoenix, And bringing on JD, my business partner, bringing on BP as my business partner has been just amazing. It's allowed us to hockey stick in our success because, I don't have to be the number one. I can be the number two. Maybe he has the vision, and I'm more of the integrator. So,
or just the number one in your lane.
Yes,
right.
exactly.
Staying in your lane. What you mentioned that a lot of people kind of paint partnerships in a negative light. If you were to partner with BP 10 years ago, do you think you'd be as successful now, or were there things that you had to learn along the way before you got to this point?
Yeah, we definitely learned a lot over the last 10 years. Both of us were in this pretty much the same space. We learned a lot, but one thing that we learned at the same time is we were done with the fix and flip because we didn't want that one day payday. Because then you had to do it over and over again.
Right.
We wanted residual, and that's where we were really on the same page. And that's when we merged and said, hey, we're going to create this business and we're going to go do these things.
You have to know what you're good at. And one thing that, to Chris's credit, he's came a long way, which has been public speaking. But when we first started our partnership, I was the face of the company.
Okay.
And the voice, the face, and he was more on the numbers, the actuals. And I tell people all the time, like, I don't know jack about flipping a house. I couldn't tell you the difference between a 2x4 and a 4x4. I couldn't tell you workman's comp. I can tell you.
Right.
Chris knows everything. He knows the SKUs. He knows the numbers. He knows we use this, we use that. So we just had to find what we were really good at and said, okay, if you can do this and I can do this, we can continue to build higher and quicker. But as that point, we started doing a lot of fix and flips, and we realized, hey, this is cool. We're making a lot of money, but we're going to need to do this again and again and again
Correct.
and again. And he's married. He's got kids. I'm not married, but I got kids. I like traveling. I like spending time with my kids. He likes traveling, spending time with his kids. So we just, we make sure that we want to create our business around our lifestyle and not the other way around, which is what most other people do.
I like that. And folks, if you're just tuning in, again, this is Dom Fawcett, your host of the Think React Lead radio show, and I've got real estate investors and business owners, Chris Ontiveros and Brian Ponciano in studio. And when we come back from break, what we're going to do is we are going to really talk about, I would say, the art of investing. I had the fortunate pleasure of sitting down with BP. Brian is BP. We're going to BP for the rest of the show with BP, and he really hipped me to some insights specific to real estate, because I was hearing everybody, I'm jumping into real estate. Here I see somebody who's not has just jumped into the pool of real estate, but became a lifeguard in the pool of real estate, right? And it's really getting to know people that have, as BP stated, laid the foundation. So you don't have to redo the work. We're not reinventing the wheel. So when we come back from break, we're going to talk about what are some of the first steps one should take before they go spend $1,000 on a Grant Cardone course, not knocking the course, you take it, or go spend $5,000 on all these courses that you and I both know you're not going to take. Question that I had prior to coming on or going on break was, how in the heck does somebody start in real estate? And I know that's a very broad and vague question, but there's two of you, and I'm sure you guys both have your different answers. So, Chris, you want to start?
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't know if that's a right investment for everybody.
I like that. That's a great way to start. Go ahead, sir.
Certainly not. There's a lot more involved in real estate investing than maybe stock market investing. So, like BP said earlier, I think you want to know, what is your goal in life? What is the goal? What are you trying to accomplish? So that's probably the first place to start. And then secondly, it's what are your options? There's a million ways to make $1 million in real estate.
Right.
So yeah, you're going to see what are your options. What do you like? What do you dislike?
I like it, sir.
The first thing that I would recommend, and I always say the same thing, is network. Go and meet people that are actively doing what it is you think you wanted to do. When I was young, I grew up broke, and the only person that we knew with any type of money was my parents' friend's mom, who happened to be a realtor. So in my mind, I thought I wanted to be a realtor until I met realtors. And I was like, screw that. I don't want to do that. That sounds horrible.
Right. Exactly.
But I didn't know that until I met realtors that were actually doing it themselves. So as I moved in through the business and I said, okay, I want to do more of the real estate side or the investing side of things, it makes more sense. I met up with other investors and I saw how they were doing it. Sometimes those things didn't make sense to me. Sometimes they were just not attainable. Sometimes they're like, okay, wow, I didn't even know that this was an option. I didn't know that I can become the bank as opposed to having to be the thing. And that's the one thing about real estate investing is everybody wants to be me and Chris, meaning everybody wants to be the person signing the contract, doing the house, having their name on the company, that stuff. And most people just cannot handle it. Most people cannot handle the mental stress that comes with having a development company, that comes with building a new freaking subdivision like Chris is doing over here, a 60-unit apartment complex like Chris is doing, running over 100 doors like we have right now. Most people just don't have the mental capacity.
Right.
But that doesn't mean you can't be in real estate. That just means you need to find your lane. And that's where we come in, because we help people. Most of the people that we've met have been like, hey, I want to be a real estate investor. They go, they buy the Cardone course or whoever else is selling a course. They go and they say, man, this is not for me. This is not really what I wanted. I mean, the really reason why I wanted to be in real estate is to get passive income. I don't really want to be the landlord. I just want to get those monthly payments coming in every single month. So you have to talk to people that are actively doing it. And the more that you meet with them, the more that you realize, okay, this is what I want. I thought I wanted this, but this ain't really what I want. Or, oh my God, I didn't even know this existed. Let me go look into that.
What are your thoughts on, and either of you can answer this, and this is more of an old school way of thinking, I believe now, because I don't see people do it, but what's your thought on maybe taking the first year and just going to work for somebody, not to get paid, but work to maybe be their assistant, right? If I want to learn, I'm going to come work with you, Chris, or BP for a year. Did you guys do that? And then, oh, you did do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So 2 things. First of all, I did that personally. I worked as a door knocker. And basically as a door knocker, I worked for another investor who just said, hey, here's the list of leads. You go knock on them, and if you get any business, then I'll give you some money.
Okay.
But there was no pay, there was no nothing. I was basically working for free. I was working for the stuff that he wanted, and if I were to bring something, he would pay me.
But what'd you learn in the process?
Oh, I learned everything. I learned everything. And here, the second point that I want to make is that Chris actually mentioned his business partner, JD. Well, JD, me and Chris started a podcast a while back. JD became in as our intern. We actually offered to pay JD. And JD said, no, I don't want to get paid. I want to learn.
Now he's your business partner.
That guy became his business partner in the development company.
Wow. Okay. Kudos to JD.
Right.
Huge kudos.
Move, right?
Now, did you, let's call it internship, did you kind of follow the same path?
I didn't. So I went the other way. I became a real estate agent. So my path came a much different way. So I became an agent, and then that led me to learning sales. You know, I got into the business. I didn't know I had to actually sell stuff, right?
I'm an agent. Everybody come to me.
Exactly.
Okay.
Once you've run through your friends and family, you realize you got to start selling things to people you don't know. It makes you learn. And that was everything for me. That's when I started taking Toastmasters. I started taking sales courses.
Okay.
I was a huge introvert, still am. But, you know, you have to learn to do that. So while I was selling real estate, making money traditionally, you know, retail, that's where I was learning. I had a library card, and I read every single book that they had on real estate investing. You know, I just, anything that I could learn, I did. And then, so when I was ready to, you know, move into that world, I was ready, but I still had an income coming in at the same time.
That makes sense. And you mentioned introvert. I'm not introverted, and BP does not strike me as a type. So maybe we can't relate. But so what was that thing that pulled you out? Like they say, what's your why? What was that thing that pulled you out of being introverted to want to grow, to be around people, learn sales, and speak?
I wanted to be successful.
Okay.
Straight up. I wanted to be wealthy. I wanted to be a successful real estate agent, and I knew that I had to be able to talk to people. I needed to be able to present.
Correct.
You know, I love to teach. I love teaching people what I know and how they can do what I do, but I never would have got there if I didn't actually learn and train.
So it sounds like you did not use the excuse of, well, I'm just an introvert, which I hear a lot of people use. When I could see the correlation between the strong sides of the fence, if you will. You're more introverted, and you and I are very like a lot alike. We're life of the party, if you will. BP, what did you learn? What's like the most recent thing you've learned from Chris, specific to just your growth overall?
You know what's crazy is that I am the crazy extroverted person. Chris is more of the introverted person. But when it comes to business, we're on the flip side of everything. I'm more conservative when it comes to business. Chris is more jump and take the action.
Okay.
So we've been talking about investing in Ohio for, God, 5 years now, Chris. I mean, it's been a long time. Last year when I went to the Philippines, I came back and Chris was like, "Hey, bro, I just bought 3 properties in Cleveland while you were gone."
Oh, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, by the
okay.
way, I jumped in and I took that risk. So that was one of the things that I really learned from him recently.
Yeah.
Is it's okay because when I do my business, I tell people all the time I'm not a gambler. I'm an investor, and as an investor, there's risk, but I take calculated risk.
Right.
Sometimes because I'm taking calculated risk, I may not be willing to take as big of a risk as I need to take because I'm making sure that everything is calculated. Chris, sometimes, most of the time in business, is more, man, this made sense. Let me just jump on it. Let me not think about it.
It felt
we signed
good.
the contract. We're going to move forward with
Okay.
it. So that was one of the things that I learned. One of the things that I learned from him recently.
All right, Chris, I'm going to ask you the same question. We'll hold off on the answer when we come back from break. But you guys just valued the heck out of us, right? And there's going to be more information that we're going to provide the audience. And folks, if you're just tuning in, this is Don Fawcett, host of your Think React Lead radio show here on 960 The Patriot, KKNT. And in studio we have Chris Ontiveros, just going to call him Chris for the rest of the show, and my man BP. And we're talking real estate. We're really talking right now how they got started. When we come back from break, we'll further that conversation. And I want you to take notes because they also teach this as well. Again, I asked BP, what was it that he learned from Chris most recently specific to growth? Now, Chris, I have the same question for you. What is the most recent thing you've learned from your business partner, BP?
To slow my roll.
Okay, sounds like something he would like say the word for word.
Exactly. And, specifically, he said, "Hey, man, we got to take a step back. We had things rolling in Cleveland. We were acquiring all these properties, but things just weren't going as they should have been. So we took a step back. We hired someone to bring in systems and processes. And now it's only 4 months later. We have our virtual assistant team is running over 100 of our units. They manage them almost without us. So
that's huge.
Yeah, we could have gone 2 years down the road and still have been where we were, but instead we took a step back. Again, talked about what do we want, what's important, and then move forward from there.
I like that. Systems and processes. Yes.
Systems and processes is the way to go. Most people have seen the Cashflow Quadrant by Kiyosaki, and it says employee, self-employed, business owner, and investor. Most people that are self-employed believe they're business owners, and the difference between being self-employed and being a business owner is a business owner has a business system. So when we were looking at there was a car ride about 5 years ago. We went to a seminar down in San Diego to learn how to raise money. And we were driving back and we said, you know what? Both of our parents are getting close to retirement age. And we don't really like the options that they have available.
Right.
The stock market, the bonds, everything, this is crap. They're giving them peanuts in return. They're not doing anything. And their money they're tied into a roller coaster, tied into an emotional roller coaster. We need to figure out a different way that we can help out our parents. That's really how this stemmed about. As we started talking about it on the car ride home, we're like, man, it's not just our parents. The whole baby boomer society, they're coming in for a really rough landing here. And the way that things are going now with the economy and the government and stuff, I really doubt there's going to be a lot of help in regards to Social Security and all these other things that we're supposed to help people retire. So we have decided to start focusing our business into one of the reasons why we stopped flipping is you can't systemize that.
Okay.
And there's a reason why banks don't flip. Don't you know why banks don't take their own REOs back? Like people can't foreclose. It's not like they don't have the money. It's not like they can't pay the contractors. It's not a sustainable business. They're in the business of lending money and getting out the way and letting people like us deal with that just as long as we make the payments.
Correct.
So we said, how can we translate that and how can we create that for the average American, which is our parents? And at that point, your dad was about to retire. I think he finally retired from the police, but he was right about to retire at that point, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, I got tired of seeing people work their whole lives just to lose it all because they chose not to be educated. And I think the Dave Ramseys of the world make it real easy for people just to believe in the stock market system.
System.
Yeah, go buy some mutual funds and you're going to be a millionaire.
Set for life.
So, I mean, Dom, let me ask you, when do you plan on retiring? Do you have a year in mind?
I don't.
So let's just call it 2035.
Let's say that.
How's the stock market in 2535, Dom?
You know what? If I knew, bro, we would not be sitting
Right?
here having this conversation.
Is it up? Is it down? We don't know. So people just ride this roller coaster. Hopefully it's up here. It's high when they want to get off that roller coaster.
Right, swing and a miss.
But, I saw friends of my family in 1999, they got wiped out. They worked their whole lives, saved $1 million, lost half. Did it again in 2009, lost half. And people don't learn.
It's cyclical, but you're right. We don't learn. We hope that these wonderful things are going to happen for us. And I know you guys teach, and you guys have so much information in this hour show. It's hard to get it all in. But in our next segment, I really want to talk about the teaching aspect of real estate, how you guys help your students, where that aspect of the business is going, and really get back to the original question of that. And this is my apologies, but how in the world does a person get started, right? And you touched on it, but once somebody has solidified the fact that they want to get into real estate, what next? And I think that's why I came to you, the BP, right? And I'm sure that's why a lot of people come to you guys. It's interesting to see how excited I was when I came to you. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be easy. I grew my business. I can grow another one. Yeah, right. Nope, I'm good. But our conversation made me realize, okay, what more can I do in my business to position myself better and stronger, right? I had to realize what that thing was that I wanted, and that thing for me wasn't real estate at the time. All right, folks, before we jump into what we're going to talk about, hit me with a website where people can find you guys.
Recessionproof.invest.
Recessionproof.invest.
I'm going to fix that because it's actually recessionproof.investments. And if you want to hook up with us, you can click on the I Want to Invest tab.
So, as I said, I'm the personality. I'm not the brains of the operation.
Right. I love it. Now, you guys teach people how to do this.
Yes. And you had, you've asked the same question again, which is how should people get started? And I will say, learn to get in where you fit in. Because you don't have to be me or you don't have to be Chris in order to do this. And what we notice is that a lot of people that come to us are like you, other business owners. You got your own stuff going on. You got your own business. You got your focus on that. Your business has been successful, so you've been able to make some money. You're like, I want to invest it in real estate.
Right.
But you think that you are the guy that has to go to the auction. You're the guy that has to buy the property. You're the guy that has to fix it. You're the guy
I did
that
think
has to
that.
list it.
Yeah.
Most people do.
You taught me I didn't.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And that's where we came in. That's the whole reason why we created the site. That's the whole reason why we moved into the Midwest, and that's why in recessionproof.investments you can actually click invest now if you want to be on the other side of real estate. Because on the other side of real estate, we're working with individuals that have a traditional way of investing, stocks, 401ks, whatever they're making peanuts on their money, and they're going through this roller coaster where we're saying, hey, what's the most secured asset in all of the history of mankind?
Right.
That is real estate.
Correct.
And the way that I see it, and I may be wrong, but people aren't going to stop having sex. People aren't going to stop popping out kids.
Nope.
Those people aren't going to stop popping out kids either.
Correct.
And they're not making any more land. So you have to invest in where that's going to be in. And you can get into something that's hot right now, but that doesn't mean that it's going to be hot. I can tell you what the real estate market is going to be doing in 2035. I can't tell you if it's going to be up or down, but there's still going to be people renting.
There's
will
be
going to
people
be people
renting, correct.
needing a place to stay. So we've created a situation where we teach people, hey, you don't have to be the investor. You can be the bank. You can be the bank. And that's what we're currently doing right now. As of right now, the stuff that we're doing in Cleveland, our investors don't ever lend more than 70% of what the property's worth.
Why Cleveland? Here we are in Arizona. Why Cleveland?
Well, in Arizona, if I were to buy a property on the west side of Arizona, Maryville, that's a C-class neighborhood, working class neighborhood, I would spend $250,000 and I can probably rent that property for $1,400 max.
Okay.
Max. I can take those same $250,000 and buy 5 houses in Cleveland that are all going to be renting for $800 to $900 a month.
Yeah, investing has a rule of thumb for real estate investing. Nationwide, if you can get, it's called the 1% rule. If you could rent a property for 1% of the purchase price, meaning if you pay $100,000, you can rent it for $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's a good deal.
Okay.
Right. So nationwide, no matter where you are, if you could find a 1% deal, which 250 and 1400 is not a 1% deal, right? In Phoenix, we're getting 2% deals in Cleveland. So I did a lot of research on a lot of different cities. You know, we were looking at Akron, Detroit, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. We were looking at a lot of these cash flow markets. But, you know, Cleveland really resonated with us. First of all, we love the city, but just the returns, the ROI is just outstanding.
When somebody, go ahead.
Remember that we are doing this in order to help the average American make a better return. You know, when I'm talking about the car ride, I'm not just saying that because it sounds like a good story. That really happened. We really sat in the car and said, we need to provide a way for people to make a better return. So as we were looking at this stuff, we've always been using investors' money, even when we were fixing and flipping. But we said, hey, I don't want to take them on that roller coaster. I want to say, hey, Mr. Investor, if you give us this amount of money, you're going to get X amount of monthly payments, and your money's going to be secured here, and we know that it's secured there. So that's why we moved into the Cleveland market, because one of the things that we realized is that during the last few recessions, the houses stayed pretty flat. And the rents not only stayed, but sometimes even bumped up a little bit. So we said, hey, there's going to be a recession coming. Now, there's no way that me and Chris knew that coronavirus was coming.
Right.
But we knew
Based
that
off
the recession was coming. We knew
research.
that there was something. Exactly.
Absolutely.
We've already aware. So that's where we came up with the name Recession-Proof Investments.
Okay.
Because we want to make sure that, hey, I invest here. I already know this property, if it's worth $50,000 right now, it's probably worth $50,000 5 years from now, regardless of what happens. And I'm still going to be collecting rent. And just like rent goes, as time goes, rent is going to continue
Increases
going up and up
consistently
and up.
and consistently.
Yeah, Dom, a lot of we don't really care too much about values. So our mentor Jeff Fagan, he told us something that was just blew my mind a few years back. We were talking about the downturn of '09, and he owns a lot of rental real estate. And so we asked, you know, didn't your net worth just get killed? You know, did you get killed during this? He's like, yeah, my net worth got killed, but I don't live on my net worth. I live on cash flow, and my cash flow wasn't really affected. So who cares what it's worth if you're not going to sell it? So that's kind of where, I mean, that was a huge light bulb moment.
That was one of those moments where the world got silent, and you're like, hold up, let me take all that in.
Yeah,
Can you repeat that again? Just the part about the net worth versus the cash flow.
Yeah, he says I don't live off my net worth. I live off cash flow.
Oh,
100%.
And so does everybody else. And we realize that for most people that are retired or getting close to retirement age, they're going to have some type of pension, they're going to have some type of retirement, but they're going to need what's known as supplemental income. That income to just finish that extra $500 a month. I mean, it's before the coronavirus. They had asked people, how big of a difference would an extra $500 a month make? And it was an astounding difference for people's life. So we're offering them an opportunity to be able to make a better return than they can get anywhere else, but to be able to be steady monthly return, because that's what people need. People don't need $10 million worth in stocks because you can't do anything with it.
Correct.
You need that monthly money coming in.
A guarantee.
And what happens, and we met with this guy over in Cleveland. This guy had retired with $1 million. And he didn't do anything but live off that nest egg. 10 years later, he ran out of the $1 million. If he would have invested it right now with what we're paying our investors, he would have made $100,000 a year in interest only. And whenever he was done lending money, he would have got all his $1 million back. So he would have made $100,000 a year in interest that he could have lived off. That's
Correct.
Cash flow. And his nest egg would have still been secured, and it would have been all backed by real estate. But because he didn't know us back then, that, you know, he went through what most people do, which is, I hope I die before my money runs out.
Ignorance, man. It eats us alive, unfortunately. Chris, give us that website again, please.
Recessionproof.investments.
Recessionproof.investments. And you guys started doing the recessionproof.investments. I know about the car ride, but what do you have an example of lives or a life that you've changed? I know you do, but what's the favorite one that you guys have? I'll start with you, Chris.
Yeah, I'll start with someone that I started working with man, 10 years ago when I first got started, she had $25,000 in a CD. She was making less than 1% a year. This was not one of our cash flow deals. This was one of our fix and flip deals, but I paid her 12%. She 12x'd her ROI just by having a little bit of faith in somebody.
Right.
You know, I mean, so many people out there, their money's just sitting out there, and inflation's just killing them. So that was a big one for me, because she needed that money to live off of. So when I was able to 12x the amount of money that she has for herself, I mean, that made me feel awesome.
You feel great.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it. What about you, BP?
There's an investor who let me borrow money back when we were still heavily in the fix and flips. And she wanted to learn how to fix and flip herself. So I said, here's what we're going to do, is you're going to let me borrow the money, and we're going to partner up on the deal. The first deal, I'll secure your money, but I'm not going to pay you anything interest-wise. Second deal, I'll pay you this much. Third deal, I'll pay you that much. By the fourth deal, you should know how to do this yourself. She now does this for a living. She quit her corporate job.
Right.
Her husband is about to quit his job, and they were able to completely transform their life because of the information that we were able to share with them. And this is one thing that I tell all of our investors. You know, because we sat down. How much did I charge you, Don? What did I ask? Did I ask you to do me a favor in return? No,
sure didn't.
Because we are big believers in just being open books.
Right.
We want to be as transparent as possible. We want to be as open as possible. And just like you learned, hey man, you know, maybe I don't want to be the operator. Maybe I just want to be the lender. There's other people out there that still, hey man, I maybe want to do this. So we open the books. You say, hey, if you invest with us, we'll show you what we're doing. Hell, you want to fly with us next time we go to Cleveland, like, by all means, knock yourself out.
You know what I like about you, BP and Chris, is probably the same about you, but I haven't engaged with you as much as I have BP, is that you have the coin to flash the way a lot of these yahoos do on social media, but you don't. You lead by skill set, you lead by example, and unfortunately, we live in a space where people are attracted to the flashiness. Right? There's nothing wrong with having the nice things, but you don't lead with that. I like to listen to people talk, and when they don't get excited about normal conversations, you said something about it was like $10-20 million, and it was just a fleeting statement. And it wasn't fleeting to me because I've never had $20 million, but I was like, this dude really just going to just throw that out there and act like I'm not going to talk about it. But I didn't bring it up because it wasn't important for the conversation we were having. And if more people would gravitate to that concept or that thought, and then those individuals would gravitate to people like you guys, I really think people's lives would change for the better.
People get screwed over because they buy the sizzle, not the steak. And old sales trainer Brian Tracy used to teach that, and he taught pretty much most sales forces in America back in the 90s and stuff, where they taught you to sell the sizzle, not the steak. So, for example, might be somebody sitting here listening that saw a YouTube video where the guy's like riding his Lamborghini, and you can invest in my apartment complex and check out this private jet and blah, 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 blah. That's the sizzle. You assume that person knows what they're doing.
Right.
You assume that they're successful. You assume that car is his, that plane is his, whatever. But you're not actually buying the steak. What me and Chris have decided to do is just completely remove that, because it's not about us. What we want, the reason why we're business partners, is because we want freedom. We want to be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want. We want passive income. We want to build passive income for ourselves, for our investors. We want to build generational wealth. And that doesn't have to do with a Ferrari or a big house or a private jet. Chris has a shirt that I love. What does your shirt say? The ones that's crossed out?
It crosses out, Gucci, Fendi, all that. And then it says, LLCs, real estate, basically.
I like that.
You need that foundation. If we want to do all the fancy stuff, we'll do that later once we're financially free.
I got you. I like that.
We believe in having our assets pay for our lifestyle.
There it is. Now you guys do travel, so I've seen you BP on social media.
Of course. But my assets pay for my lifestyle. I don't sit here and be like, okay, I got to flip another house so I can take this trip.
Right.
I know that, hey, on the money that I have coming in on a monthly basis based on my investments is going to pay for that. And by the way, if I want to get a Lamborghini, which I don't, because I don't particularly think those cars are nice looking anyway. But if I wanted to, I would just buy more rental properties, so then my income covers whatever that monthly payment is, $1,000 or whatever the hell that would be.
All right, folks. I hope you're taking notes. If you're not, you need to re-listen, re-watch, replay, however that works in the platform that you are currently watching this. But Chris, real quick, that website again.
Recessionproof.investments.
There it is, .com. Not that we needed to say that, but
No com,
it just,
no com.
no, oh.
No .com.
Oh, it's .investments.
Recessionproof.investments.
I like that.
Yes,
Recessionproof.investments. Well, folks, it's Instagram, Cashflow,
Chris with a K.
Chris with a K, and we've got
Cashflow Creator.
There it is. Folks, thank you very much for tuning into the Think React Lead radio show. I greatly appreciate that. I hope you took notes and you're able to do something with this information. Until next time, I am your host of the Think React Lead radio show, Dom Fawcett, here on 960 The Patriot, KKNT, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, Instagram world, thank you very much for tuning in. Facebook world, thank you very much for tuning in. Greatly appreciate that. Make sure you go follow on Instagram and Facebook these two gents. And you guys have a wonderful day. Ciao for now, guys and gals. You guys are dorks.